Over the last decade, companies have been very interested in exploring research opportunities with people at universities. This all started with the open innovation phase of the early 90s or so. The area has been very popular over the last decade, and people at universities have profited quite significantly, in my opinion, over this period of time. But the real trick, of course, is to make connections between the companies and the universities. Companies have learned to do that very, very well. They've hired people who have been experienced in universities, they've explored the literature, they've learned how to make connections at meetings, but the opposite link has been somewhat more difficult to make. There are a number of tricks, however, a number of very simple things that students and faculty at universities can do to get in closer to companies. Bottom line is, it's making connections, it's establishing relationships, it's looking for opportunities to explore interests of companies and what those interests might or might not mean in terms of matches for researchers at the universities. Most universities have an office of corporate relations, and the individuals in that office have a pretty good feel for the companies who are in the geographic area and the companies that maybe are not in the geographic area but have interests and specialties that link into the faculty at that institution. That certainly is a good way to start. For students and for faculty, being in connection with former colleagues, colleagues as students or perhaps other faculty who have moved on to jobs in companies is an excellent way to get a foot into the door, find out what the interests and the needs of those companies are and how to make connections. I'd add to that list attendance at professional meetings, and especially attending sessions that are business and industry oriented and not just the technical sessions of interest. Because in those business oriented sessions there will be presentations, there will be discussions, there will be problems described that of course are not necessarily part of the general publication and certainly don't appear in the technical literature. Finally, most universities have a mechanism for encouraging interaction between companies and faculty and students on a regular basis. There were really two prongs to my responsibility. One was to scout for the technology of interest of the company, and that was pretty well defined internally by the company as we went through our strategic planning for the time period ahead. And then determining which individuals at which universities had been working in those areas of interest. My experience was that faculty were always very enthusiastic about receiving a visitor from a company where there was the potential of research funding. And that certainly was a very easy link to make. During my roughly 10 years at Bayer, we probably established 15 or 20 collaborations with faculty at universities. Several of them led to development of pilot-scale activities in the company. Some of them actually led to commercialization of products. Most of them did not. Most of them led to evaluation and ultimate decision that this technology wasn't going to work or was going to be more expensive or the customers really wouldn't be interested. But we found, at least in my years of experience there, that farming the universities for the very specific technology of interest of the company was a very worthwhile venture. Companies are out there to make money, and if they don't make money, they don't stay in business and they don't employ people. And competition is very stiff these days, especially in the technical area, the chemical industry in particular. Companies have been established in the Asian countries that are very good, are very effective, are very competitive, and can match both quality and price of organizations in the United States. That leaves companies in this country in the position of having to be not only good and not only low in price, but also really creative. And that's, I think, where the innovation concept comes in.